Publish what you met in Treasury. APC senator sends message to Tinubu. Wow. You will never publish it now. All of them are the same. They will never see what they have met. It's not Tinubu alone. Even the governors, even the new governors, let them publish what they met in the Treasury of each state as well. They will not, because if they do, a lot of secrets will be blown open. And they will not. They will also not be transparent. They will be forced to be transparent. So I mean, so the only way they can refuse to be transparent or hide from transparency is not revealing what they made, so that they will not be checkmate with what they're doing. That is it. Well, let's see what this APC senator is talking about. Foremost businessman and senator representing Ondo South, Dr. Jumo Ibrahim, has urged President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to publish what he met in the Treasury when he assumed office as president. Ibrahim said no matter the good intention of the president's policy, lack of communication will be a bad challenge, or a big challenge. So he said the policies of this government have good intentions, but of course, you know the short-term effects they are having on the economy, which is why the information minister needs to get those facts across to Nigerians. Legitimacy is key, and Asiwaju means well, but he needs to put out some information. After all, he got a handover note from former President Buhari, so why won't he publish them and tell Nigerians what he met on the ground? Habi, for instance, what was the GDP to debt ratio? What was the GDP to cash flow ratio and other indices, so that Nigerians will know? Then he explains that he is taking or not taking some policies now because this will be the impact it will have on the economy, considering what is on ground. To me, that is how it should be. If not, Nigerians will always perceive it differently. That is it now. They will not. Even the previous government have not been doing that, because they don't like transparency. When they are transparent, they will not be able to commit the fraud they are good in doing. So this Jimo Ibrahim is talking from a very matured, neutral mindset. And I'm sure APC will not tell him he's doing anti-party activity. Now he's trying to still speak well of the president, but to also bring out where the president needs to improve on, so that Nigerians can see reasons with him in what he's doing. But they will never do that. They will never do that. They would rather choose to go on propaganda. They would rather choose to go on propaganda. That is it. Tell Nigerians what you met. Tell Nigerians the situation of things, and communicate why you are doing what you are doing. But no, they will not do that. They don't have good intentions. None of them have good intentions. That is why they cannot be transparent. They don't have good intentions. There's no two ways about it. That is why they can never be transparent. They will never be transparent. Speaking further, Ibrahim noted that the issue of borrowing is not the problem in Nigeria, but borrowing to invest in critical sectors of the economy. Exactly. People borrow in Nigeria and they borrow to steal, they borrow to share. That is what Buhari government did for good 8 years. Borrow to share. Borrow to share. And when they're investing, they will invest on non-profit sectors, non-profit investment, where the money will sink and it will not pay itself back. And that is, running the government is a business. All right. You must make profit in whatever you do. Wherever you're putting money, there must be profit in it. That is it. You borrow money to construct road. No, you borrow money to invest in areas that it will not pay itself back. It doesn't make sense. You borrow money to invest in sectors that are thriving, so that they will pay back the loan, and then you have profit to run your government, because it's business. No, Nigeria, they borrow money to cushion, to give us palliative, borrow money to buy vehicle for lawmakers, borrow money to pay for lawmakers' salaries and arrears, borrow money to spend, to share, nothing to show for it. Meanwhile, you are going to pay the principal and pay the interest over a given period. And International Monetary Fund, IMF, is giving the loan, World Bank is giving the loan, and they're happy. Countries like China is giving the loan, and caging the destiny of Nigerians more every time. Even in the midst of this high inflation rate, with very high exchange rate against the naira, International Monetary Fund is advising Nigerian government to further increase taxes. Does it make sense? To further increase taxes and increase things that will further affect the value of naira, and still be promising them loans. Hi, Nigeria, God will help us. We are done for. So Jimo continues saying our debt service to GDP is 30% and our cash flow to GDP is 1.3%. Okay, of GDP, which is the worst in the world, which means that the cash available for Tinubu to spend is 1.3% of GDP, and we have capital projects. He had to appoint ministers and also run government. So what will be left for the country to move? Not, and he's busy appointing ministers, appointing special assistants, and appointing. He has a bloated government, and his own side of reason or excuse for that at the beginning of all of this is that is his own way of creating employment. Who are you creating employment for? Creating employment for people who already have more than enough, okay, at the expense of the impoverished over 200 million Nigerians. Does that make sense? And they claim to be technocrats. You claim to have technocrats in the team. What are they doing? Why not for once be reasonable and be objective in your policies and decisions? Doesn't make sense what we are doing. We cannot be running around the same hole and expect to make progress. No way. So the option we have is to tax more people to create revenue, because tax to GDP is 18%, but the country doesn't have a very large buoyant population. Can you imagine? So the other option through ways and means to print more money, but by doing that, you weaken the naira. So the next option is to what? To borrow. Can you imagine? Giving more reasons, more excuses to borrow. All right. So, however, borrowing is not bad, but we need to borrow and invest in infrastructure, because even the IMF had said that the debt rate to global GDP is 135%, which means that the world has overborrowed, and it is not only peculiar to Nigeria. As such, we need to borrow and invest in critical infrastructure, he explained. The lawmaker lamented how the federal government abandoned over 1,000 projects, which would have had a great impact on economic growth. As we speak today, there are about 1,886 abandoned federal government projects, about of which only 3 projects form a huge chunk of Nigeria's GDP. For instance, Ajaokuta is $6 billion, Shopee is $4 billion, and the second Niger bridge is 60%. Can you imagine? So in my research, Ajaokuta needs $1.8 billion to be completed, which is about 25% of our total cash importation of iron ore. If we fix that, about 30% of people will build houses, will not import that raw material, which is a plus to our forest, because as it is now, the forest is not even coming instead. You see? So the question is, why are we importing iron ore? Don't we have iron ore in Nigeria? The 36 states of Nigeria, including plus FCT, have unique solid minerals that are untapped. It's only the gold in Zamfara and probably uranium in Benue, in Borno State, and then the titanium that are mining in an Akwa Ibom State. Those are the ones we are hearing of. But this country has bundles of solid minerals that are untapped, and iron ore is one of them. So why not think of a way of mining those things, so that over time we'll stop importing the iron ore from abroad for the iron and steel industries to work? Okay. So that is what Jimo Ibrahim is saying here, telling Tinubu to do. Otherwise, he will be perceived wrongly all along. And that is how it's going to be. Already, Tinubu is not focused anymore. He's not even thinking of the economy. He's not thinking of the social system. His problem is how to wriggle his neck out of the forgery case on his neck. So he's already distracted, and he's a confused person right now, I tell you. Even the entire government is confused right now. Rather than focusing on the economy, they are focusing on how to create propaganda to save their neck from the forgery and perjury that is currently ravaging the identities of the people in government. So thank you for listening, and let's have your comment.